First thing I'll do is I'll call the meeting to order, and I'll read the pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021. This meeting will be conducted via remote means. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so in the following manner. Go on the town website, direct yourselves towards meetings, and click on today's date and the agenda for this Finance Committee meeting, and the instructions will be on there. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. So the meeting of the April 11 Finance Committee and CIB is called to order. We will defer the first item on the agenda, which is the reading to the vote to accept the minutes of April 4th. They have yet to be circulated, so we'll postpone that until the next meeting. Grab a pen. Oh boy.
Wow.
Not organized today. Not organized. Too many meetings. Don't know where I am. Okay. Second order of business is we will just have a brief summary of the work to date on the finance and budget educational opportunity. The group task force met last night for the first time. Actually, it was Ray, Greg, and I, and Jennifer joined us for a period of time before her school committee meeting and had some great insight. We're working, I think the slides are in last night's folder, which I believe I invited everybody to. They're kind of all over the place because we're kind of all over the place, and we'll get to that a little more focused as the meeting goes on and we get into the budget piece. But we do have a lot of data, and we're just trying to figure out historically on the budget side how far do we glean it down on the revenue side the same way, and the salient points that we really want to make about what do we get should an override, whether it be this year or future years, be pursued, and how important is that? And with that, we will get in with, unless there's any questions, our next meeting's next Wednesday. Invite everybody to attend. I can certainly share a link if I haven't posted it yet, but when I get that, I will gladly share it with everyone.
Chris, you sure about that?
Yeah.
We had said Tuesday, the working group meeting.
We did?
Yeah, I put it on the calendar as soon as we had that conversation.
And my other question is, how many can attend when it's before it becomes not a working group?
Well, we're calling it a working group just because we're having limited minutes, but as it turns out, since there's 4 of us could attend, that would constitute a quorum. So we have to post it, and it's got to be a public meeting and all that sort of stuff. So
you invited everybody to attend, but I don't think they can do that.
Yep.
Right.
Well, we I guess we can if we choose to, just because even though we're calling it a task force, we're not making decisions. We're doing one thing only, which is working on this educational thing. So, and let me see, what did I have for next meeting? Tuesday, April 16th. You are correct, Ray. I guess I got to get that posted tomorrow. Anything, Greg, Ray, Jen, anybody want to add anything from last night? I know it's kind of it's more like 100,000 foot scenario, but
I think probably the most important thing I heard last night, and maybe it's been distributed otherwise, but Jen was able to close the budget gap on the town side. So for fiscal 25, we have a balanced budget on the town side, and I think we're still waiting to hear from the schools where they're at.
Well, yeah, Jen, you're on mute, so if you want to.
I said we're going to go over my draft budget shortly.
Yeah, I did. Jen sent me the budget, her draft budget. this afternoon. I uploaded it to the Google Drive. We can certainly share the screen. I mean, I guess to share the suspense and or spare the suspense, I can certainly upload and share that. Is that the best way to do it, Jen, or do you want to upload and share it? Whatever. I mean, I don't know how we want to go through that. I
I'm
mean,
muted again. I'm muted again.
Okay.
If you don't mind, if I could share it that way, I can have control of the cursor in case I need to
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
highlight something.
Yep.
Okay, I need to find it.
And Mary's joined us too. Hi, Mary. Thanks for joining us.
Chris, I don't know, are you seeking any comments? Because I went through the presentation, the rough draft presentation, which is still very rough, I guess.
Yeah, very well.
There's a slide in there about the state contribution that's like a bar chart.
Yep.
That's horrible.
Yep.
I mean, I think that slide should not be shown. I don't think it's explainable, quite honestly. And you had a
Thanks.
slide before it which actually did explain the changes from 2016, I think, through 2024 to the
Yeah.
state Chapter 70 contribution.
Yeah.
I just
Thanks, Pete.
my
Yeah.
input there. I think that bar chart slide's terrible.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, we're early in that, but I think I think
Okay.
you're not the only one that feels that way about Bart. So I think others have expressed that. But
All right.
and I'll take the blame for it. I'll take the blame. That was. But
I mean, are you ready for me to share? or-
fire away. Yep, bring it up.
All right,
So this will be.
here we go. Okay, you're seeing something and I'm sure it's too small, right?
Yeah, if you could blow that up a tad, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
And just for everybody's information, it is in the Google Drive as well, so you can access it that way too if you choose to.
Okay, so I'm gonna go all the way to the bottom here. So we'll start at the bottom. Is that a better size for folks, or do you need a
That's
bigger?
fine. Yeah,
No,
no,
good.
it's fine.
Excellent.
That's good.
Okay. So the total balance budget is $30,051,607. And that's a 3.49% increase over last year, or a $1,014,379 increase. Okay,
Okay.
so now we'll go up to the top.
So that's
No, we'll go-
substantial. That's substantial when we look at the last 10 years, right?
What do you mean, Chris?
Increase wise, 3.5%.
Well, if you look at FY 23 was 26.8, I don't think so.
No.
And FY 24 was, let's see, 29. Oh, let's see. I think it was about 900 last year, so 29,063,928. Where are my math whizzes who can do this in their head?
Well,
20.
what I was going to do is I was just going to open up the 10-year. That's revenue.
Well, it's $1 million.
29,
It's $1.2 million.
Last year?
No, it's from, let me see, 23 to.
29 million.
No, it's 2.
The 30 compared to the 29 is about 1.14 million.
Yeah, okay, so it's kind of keeping in trend
Yeah.
then.
That's you were talking about comparing 23 to 24, right? Which looks
23 to
like,
24, yeah, similar
which-
increase.
Oh, all right.
looks like it's 2.2 million.
9,037.
Oh, that's 23's actuals.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's 23 actual, not
Oh,
budgeted.
yeah, so that's less, that's not the budget, okay. Got it.
I'm trying
So
to find.
now I'm gonna go up to the next, the school
Hmm.
is a $300,000 increase over FY 25. That's this yellow line here. That's a 2.17% increase.
Yeah.
there's been a number of conversations, with the school about what they're, so knowing this number, this 300,000 is where they have their $1 million, deficit, more or less.
Yep.
And so the questions have been, what is needed above and beyond for FY25, above and beyond this 300,000? I don't know, Chris, do you want to add anything about?
No, I mean, I don't know that, is that what was, that they were taking back, with it, they were looking at adjusting this year's budget? I thought we were just waiting on numbers for future.
I don't, so they can make it this year.
Yeah.
And that, so I'm not expecting this to change for FY, if an override were to pass,
Right.
but I haven't heard that 100% yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm a little confused. Which budget are we talking about? We're talking about FY25? The
So
forecast?
the school budget, this 14,137,414.
I see the number.
dollars.
What fiscal year?
That's FY25 for the school.
That's what they're anticipating, FY25, and that's a 300,000 increase?
That's a $300,000 increase,
And 2.17, okay.
and that puts them in the deficit of $1 million or
Yeah,
less.
see, you see, Pete, part of the challenge here is that's the Jen showing us the town's side of
Mhm.
the school budget. This is not the school's budget per
Oh,
se.
okay. All right.
The school has
This
other,
is what the town allows based on revenue.
this is what the town portion is funding, and included in that are some state funds that come in, but the schools have other funding resources,
Right.
because their budget is closer to 16 million, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Yeah, I was looking for their budget stuff from yesterday, Chris.
I've actually got that.
Their
here.
budget. I don't have it right on my desk easy. Oh, wait, here it is. So just bear with me a second. So their FY25 budget is $16,685,337.
So
But-
when it comes up with their deficit, they have, I guess, what you would consider normal funding components of about $500,000. And then they're looking to close, and then there's about $1 million, so that brings it to around 15 or 14 and change. I'm trying to think of, it's more than that. It's closer to $1 million, I guess, is their normal funding, but they still have another $1 million that they're short.
So that's
Don't
funding
this-
outside of the town.
This also doesn't include grant funding and other revenue sources the schools have that are directed
Well,
to them.
That's what we're talking
individually.
about. So we're talking about, like, they're including $819,000, $819,993 of school choice in their budget. Circuit breaker and special ed tuition, $623,875, but it does not include the Title I grants and
Title
those
I,
grants. You're
right.
correct.
But with that $1.4 million addition, it's still $1 million short. Right? Am I right on
Correct.
that? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And I think that just
So-
so everybody knows, if you're interested, that's in one of the folders that I had I'd saved it to earlier, after Ray and I had attended the school meeting. So you can see their full budget. Okay, sorry, Jen, go ahead.
So kind of the charge or the mission that I've given to the school is to let us know what, if anything, they're asking for FY25 above and beyond this, should an override pass. And then to do their best effort, and it is an art, not a science, to project out 5 years of what those future needs are. they have a little bit more of a shifting terrain than the town in terms of projections, just because a lot of it's based on people and what the situation is with people, whether they're coming into the district, whether they're having to go outside to school. So it's a little bit harder, but you know, based on trends and averages, just to give a good faith estimate for the next 5 years. So hopefully we'll have that tomorrow.
Jen,
I have done the same exercise on the town side.
the town portion of the school budget went up 2.17%. How much did the
Mhm.
total school budget go up over last year? Was that a similar percentage or was it more?
No, it was like 5%.
Yeah, so it's got to be quite a bit more. All right, so there's a great deal in this budget that's unfunded from these other sources.
Well, it is funded from the other sources. That's it. But they've always relied on that, Pete. I mean, this is nothing.
Well, no, but the budget they weren't in $1 million deficit in the past.
But they were in they did have a structural deficit for many, many years, right? I think that I
Yes.
know since I've only been here one, but
Yeah, I think I have how much it went up. Was it
5.82% is what their increase was over FY24.
Right. So, yeah, so what we're really talking about is, that'd be 1.6, so that would be.
So they've got, so Pete, so they've got,
Yeah.
so of the 14,
That's $1
so
million,
the-
yeah. Mhm.
right, right. So of that, so we're funding them, or the town's funding them at 14,137. They're getting school choice of 820,
Mhm.
circuit breaker 623, 624. Revolving funds, transportation 60, and preschool revolving 25. That lands them at 15,666. It's a deficit of $1 million.
Yep.
So that deficit has grown. Now, we don't know what that's been year over year over year, but we know this year that is very high, and it's in order to balance that, they're going to have to pirate, school choice, circuit breaker, funds that they have yet to receive.
Right.
And that they're basically hoping to accrue in the current year and get in FY25. In the past, they've always had that 1 year cushion. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
all right.
Okay.
Are we ready to move
Yep.
past schools?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back all the way to the top. I have asked people to, give incredibly austere budgets to, I think, let's move this to, well, is it gonna be too small if I bump this down that small?
I know
I'm
that's,
trying to get it
that's
to,
fine.
I can see that.
that's okay.
Should be okay.
All right, so, no change, a lot of people, they listen to unless they had to change something or a department had to change, the directions were, as austere as you could be. So moderator, selectmen, no change whatsoever. Minor decrease to the town administrator budget. Finance committee reserve, and I'm just gonna kind of go through these. Please, if there's questions, stop me as I'm going. So if I don't hear you shout, I'm gonna assume at this point, there's no questions on these budgets. Finance committee reserve, we left that alone. Town accountant, we do have an increase to talk about. So there was a promotion in that department, which is accounted for, that happened during this fiscal year. That's accounted for in the salary line. And then there also was a purchase of software that will move our keeping of vacation, sick time, and personnel time from a pen and paper system, in some cases quite literally, to an automated system. So that has some costs in there, and that's under the purchase services. That's the increase there.
Dan, is that a one-time software purchase or is that an annual software?
It's annual software. It's higher in this first year for the one. So there is an annual charge for the software, but this year is more expensive to start it.
Okay, but that
Okay.
will continue.
But we're also be reducing paper, we're not gonna have paper checks as part of this too. So there's some things are coming off, and so it should be relatively cost neutral going forward. Especially if you're counting people time, because the people time is going to get a lot less. Driving things to town hall to hand over, it's crazy. All right, the audit, the company has changed for the audit services, so we have a decrease there. They got bought out by a bigger company, and it's also not the, last year's audit is more expensive because it's the dual audit. All right.
Okay.
What does that mean, Jen? A
Assessors.
dual audit?
Oh, it's the, oh, this is Leslie World. Hold on, I'm gonna have to pull it up. There's a special audit that, if somebody else knows this, there's a special audit that happens every X years that's more expensive. Chris, Greg,
I don't,
anybody?
yeah, I don't know, but
Out of my wheelhouse.
it's, I'm sure that's some kind of a requirement
The
for
single, there's a
municipalities.
single audit, and then there's a more expensive audit every X years.
Yeah,
If you're really interested, Ray, ask
Yeah.
Leslie. She'll tell you more about it than you ever want to know.
it's required by the
All right.
Commonwealth. That's all we know. Yeah.
Assessors, minor increase here, but where it's just their company that we have that does our in-house assessing. Their contract ends June 30, and so I have an RFP that's actually due tomorrow that I'll be opening. But I'm anticipating an increase there for that contracted service. Treasurer collector, no change of substance. Town council, no change. Computer purchase services. This has, so we outsource our computer services to a company, so there's contractual increase in here, but it also includes software that are purchased through that company, that third-party company. He pays all of the software for us, so any increases in software are included in that purchase service line, unless the department's purchasing that software separately. And then the computer capital outlay is to replace a whole host of computers this year. I wish that number, and I'm going to talk to him about it, I wish that number was more static year over year, that we're always replacing X dollars of computers, because the bouncing, like you can see here, it was 18,000, then there was a big drop to 9,000, and now we're back up to 22. It would be helpful if that was more static.
Jen, do you know how many computers they're actually replacing this year, just out of curiosity?
I do, but I have to pull it up.
That's okay. If you don't have it off the top of your head, I get it.
Nope, just don't read my email. Budget FY21.
Gotta be around 10, I assume.
Yeah, at
Let's
least.
see.
I mean, I replaced 2 laptops this year and it cost me almost $3,000. So
5, 6, 7, 8. 8 computers, a server, 8 computers and a server.
The server would probably do it by itself. Okay.
So that's not capital, because we look at that as an operating item, right? Just
Mhm.
putting it through the operating budget. Okay, thanks.
Yep, thank you.
But I would like to see that more flat. Town clerk, I'm going to talk about elections and salaries together. So we have a presidential election this year. And we have all sorts of early voting, vote by mail mandates that we now need to comply with. So there's increase there for that. I actually, in my opinion, I think Damien maybe budgeted a little too tight here. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of the budgets that gets fixed at either fall or May town meeting. And I guess that this is a good point to bring up, that when I developed this budget, it is with the anticipation that departments are gonna need adjustments because there are some things that are really, really tight. And as things change, that we're gonna probably be revisiting them. So I think town clerk is the first to mention. All right.
Okay.
All right, conservation, no change there. Planning board has a significant percentage increase, but dollar increase is de minimis. They're, at this point, they have run out of funds for this fiscal year, and they may need a budget fix for their admin. It kind of depends on how many meetings and how many projects are coming through. So they didn't make it this year, so we need to do an adjustment there.
Did they adjust some fees? Or are they going to?
Well, the thing is that not all, so they apply her salary to the fees that come in, but a lot of the work the planning board is doing is outside of a project-driven reason that something's before the planning board. For example, they've spent a lot of time on some bylaws, and they have more bylaws that they're gearing up for. There's nobody's paying fees for those.
Okay. So basically, this is just the admin's time to minutes and document all those changes and stuff like that, and we expect
just-
that to continue. Okay.
We do. So, but again, we're talking about $1,700, and
Yeah.
sometimes,
Yeah. No, I understand.
we end up getting like a big percent increase, but it's a de minimis dollar.
Yeah.
So no change in public safety headquarters.
Yeah.
Facilities management purchase services. So this is the regional facilities person that we have. When we started this, he didn't have a supply line whatsoever. So now he has a $15,000 supply line. Right now he's using every building's $9,900, which is tight, but it's nice to get things done and have things change. So, but he does need some money to do his job. All right, town hall is really no change of significance. It's $1,600. Town report, no change. WBPA, no change of significance. So total general government, you have almost $103,000 increase for all town government. And this is, I think, when you're talking about your educational component, when people are arguing things about, some things that are in this, it's such a small fraction of the total pie. And that's all your town hall.
Yep.
All right. Police. So, police is, we have a new collective bargaining agreement. That's accounted for with the salaries. We do have some folks that are retiring, some younger folks coming on. So that was a little bit offsetting that contractual agreement. But a 3.3% increase in the police department, or $61,000 overall.
Yep. Okay. Everybody good with that?
Fire,
Well, yeah, just a question on that with the guys that are out on disability or whatever the correct term is. The overtime,
Injured on duty,
everything
yep.
is contemplated in there.
what's that?
The overtime to cover those spaces
Yes.
is contemplated in here.
It is, a lot of the people will be coming back in this fiscal year. This budget is going to need an adjustment to get us through the end of FY '24 though at town meeting. For that same reason though, Ray.
So you expect to come back in the fall with an adjustment?
No.
No,
At this
24.
town meeting, we need to adjust FY '24.
Okay.
But I think there's these folks should be coming back, so, and we have new hires coming on, so I think it should level out in this fiscal year. The police, you know, anybody that's seen in the Telegram and Gazette, the highest paid folks in West Boylston, I wish they do asterisks about how much is overtime and how much is detail, but they've been really short this year.
Yep.
Really short. Anything
That
else
seems-
on them?
That just seems like it's gonna be tight too, though, doesn't it? Because it's really not much more than. Oof.
But so they have planned retirements of people.
I see. Okay, so
So you have
higher, so
people
higher
go-
coming off and lower coming on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, and that's why the uniform budget's up
Exactly.
so much. Yep, okay, good.
Yep.
All right,
So that's where that was a bit offsetting,
good.
the lower people coming on. Now, fire, here's where you made some huge adjustments last year. But you'll see that it's pretty level for this year.
Very level.
And the reason is, so salary only went up slightly, 3.6%. Those 3 firefighters that we added on, we maybe, if they all start, will finally be filling those roles. Almost a year later, it's taken that long to fill those roles.
Wow.
But there are other elements in the fire budget that I decreased substantially in the different supplies and expense lines. So when the fire chief first started, he had a lot of things all going wrong all at once. And we bumped his budget up to account for those things. And they seem to be outliers and not keeping pace and not keeping trends. So I looked at where we actually are in these expense lines and moved them back.
And he's
So
all right,
if that is,
and he's good with that?
yes, I explained my rationale to him and I said, if this is moved back in error and that this year is that last year wasn't the blip, although I think it was, that trend, that this year, for whatever reason, that trend is down, then we can revisit it. But
Okay.
based on where he's spending, I think he should be fine with
Okay.
these.
All right, good.
And so when you said, like, I know one of the questions is, Jen, how did you make this work? This is an area where backing these, you know, that's not insignificant amounts that I back this down.
All right,
No, 20,000.
All right. Who am I on? Dispatch,
yep,
Mhm.
communications purchase services. This is our regional agreement. This is an assessment that we pay. We don't really have control over this number. Other than to say that I stand by that regionalization of dispatch was a wonderful endeavor. It is a huge cost saver. If we were running our own dispatch, this number would be nowhere near $194,000.
yeah. Good,
All right. Oh, I went too fast. Okay, building inspector. So this is a large jump of significance. So I just talked about a situation where regionalization saved us money. Now I'm going to talk about a situation and another one upcoming where regionalization, but also enhancing services to the residents, does not save us money. So we are about to, I believe, have a final version of an intermunicipal agreement to bring to the select board with the towns of Boylston and Sterling to share 1.5 persons. So a full-time, the building commissioner who has been assisting us as an interim, plus a half-time person. So it would be 20 hours between the 3 towns. And the hope is that this person who is part-time comes on, gets trained, gets to see a lot of things that are, you know, Sterling doesn't have quite the level of commercial going on that Boylston has. West Boylston's gonna have a bunch of apartment buildings. It'll be a good training opportunity, but if they were just in one town, they wouldn't be. And so there is increased costs here, but the level and quality of services that we are getting, I can't say enough good things about the quality of the interim building commissioner. You having somebody 20 hours part-time is not a good service necessarily to the town of West Boylston. Having somebody that does this professionally full-time and this is their vocation, this is the career, it makes a world of difference. But I don't think even if we were to stay with the 20-hour part-time model, that we would be able to hire somebody anywhere near what we were paying for the person that is no longer with West Boylston.
Jen,
So
just for clarity, how many hours are we getting from this collect
30.
grouping?
20.
Oh, 20 for the new one? I thought it was 30 for the new one, no?
20.
'Cause
Oh,
I'm just trying to understand a little better. The one line item for everybody's benefit you don't see on here is the first line of this budget.
Oh, here, this
Goes up
one,
80,
this one?
80K, yeah. So
But that's not only for this intermunicipal agreement. So they're also in here. So one of the things is that we're not the host community, okay? So when we're not the host community, that means the other community has to pay all the insurance and benefits. So if we were the host, where this person's health insurance would live in another line, this person's health insurance is living in this line, or a third of their health insurance is living in this line. Are you tracking? You want me to say that in a different way?
yeah, no, I understand.
Oh, okay. No, okay. And the other thing is that with the building inspectors, so not the building inspectors, the electrical inspectors, the wiring inspectors, the gas inspectors are also paid out of this line. And with the potential of one large commercial project and 2 at least apartment buildings coming on, there will be more inspections this year. So it was increased for those inspectors as well. This isn't all intermunicipal agreement, this line.
I'm very supportive of this. I'm going to interject personal experience here. I'm sorry, but in December, I was nearly left over Christmas with 2 bathrooms completely out of commission because we didn't have a plumbing inspector or a building inspector. The plumbing inspector from Boylston came and did the inspection and called and said the building inspection was not necessary, bailed me out. I was astonished at, I mean, he did a great job. I'm very pleased with that. And everybody in the building department tried to help me in any way they could. But wow, what a catastrophe I would have had in my hands. So I think this needs to be fixed. Hopefully this is going to do it.
I guess I'm just looking at the numbers. I guess I can't get the math to work for me. I can understand we're adding in the benefits for an inspector, and that's whatever, a 40% increase or something like that. But it's still more than doubling the line item, so I'm missing something.
You are. So what you're missing is this line item no longer exists in reality for this market. So this job has been posted at where it was left, which was this job. So there's 2 things that live in this line item. Let's start there. There's the building commissioner and there's the inspectors. The inspectors are paid per inspection at $40 per inspection. We don't know how many inspections there will be. What we do know is that we have large commercial project and 2 apartment buildings potential to start in this fiscal year. So we need to bump, they don't come out of, they're not paid out of a revolving fund. I actually, in a way, wish they were. They're paid out of this line. So we need to bump this up knowing that we have enough to cover for those inspections. Number 2 is this position, the 20-hour position, has been posted since, I don't even know what it was. Was it November, October, November? It was a 20-hour position. We paid $50,000 to the last person. Okay? I have received an applicant who will travel from the North Shore, perhaps, who has been in a lot of communities. I have received an application from the full-time person of a full-time person in the city of Worcester who is available to do this on Saturdays and Sundays. So this is not real. So if we're talking about percentage increases, that's not real. There is nobody coming in this door for $50,000, 20 hours a week. That doesn't exist. That model is over. And interestingly, somebody had said to me that Nancy, when she hired the last commissioner, went to the select board and said, you know that this is probably the last time somebody will be willing to do this as a part-time retirement job. This just doesn't happen anymore with these jobs. And that was the case of the person. The person had a pension and they were fully retired. And so that's why they were willing to come to West Boylston for $50,000 because they were capped out on how many hours they could work and how much they could earn. So it worked for them. That doesn't what a time has shown me having this posted, that's not coming around again.
Right.
Or it hasn't in the last 5 months.
Right.
So the 75K boils down to an increase in base salary, benefits applied, and a higher estimate of number of inspections. Does that pretty much cover it?
So it covers, so there's 4 inspectors, that 2 plumbing, 2 electrical and wiring, so 4 inspectors, plus 1.5, those are not building inspectors, those are separate people, plus 1.5 people, so 1 full-time, 1 part-time shared between 3 towns, and benefits and insurance and vacation benefits for the full-time person, split between 3 towns.
And the full-time person is basically managing the inspections then. Is that correct?
He's managing the other, no, the electrical and plumbing inspectors don't answer to the building commissioner.
Oh.
They have their own licensure, they have their own boards.
But in terms of
They're working under their own license.
but who does the scheduling? That's the thing. To make sure that the
The
inspector.
vacant administrative, right now,
Yeah.
because we could talk about that too, the vacant administrative assistant.
And that's in there, that's in the budget line item below, right? The administrative
Yeah.
inspection assistant. And keeping in mind, and we're looking at, we may have had a budgeted salary for this person of 65,000, but
No,
The
you
reality-
had 50,000 budgeted. You had 50,000 budgeted?
the 65 last year is what I'm looking at.
No, 15,000 was for inspections. 50,000 was the salary.
So, and we actually have, in 2023, we actually incurred 100,000 in expense. So that was woefully, so there was something missing there, right? Because it looks like we way under budgeted last year.
I want
But
to see
it's not like
something.
that gap was filled by someone willing to work at a lower rate than we would have otherwise expected.
Right.
I don't know what, I'm wondering if that's, honestly, I'm wondering if the building inspector salary of the 99,000 at that time was, if you remember, we had prior to there being a full-time admin, there was a part-time admin,
Yeah,
supported both. I wonder, I'd have to ask Leslie, if this line, yeah, that admin lived in that 99,000.
oh, okay, because there was nobody below, I see, okay. Okay, that makes sense. All right, it is what it is. I mean, the market dictates that if we want a building inspector, this is even though it's costing us more, this is the best approach because it's a regionalized approach. And we're sharing
And the
it with-
quality, I mean, the quality of, this is somebody that's still active in the field. This is somebody that is going to, not to say that somebody else wouldn't, but this is somebody that's, they're not done with their career. This is their vocation. This isn't a retirement side job. You approach it differently.
Makes sense.
Or one would like you to approach it differently, theoretically, at least.
Theoretically, yeah.
So where does the admin salary show up now? Your point's well taken as
Yeah.
far as 20.
Here.
Okay, so,
See,
okay.
So
Okay,
can we,
this
can we,
admin's-
oh, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
oh, no. Did you,
Oh,
the
no,
admin, so
you
the
go.
admin is, I increased this because right now they're a department assistant. I think that that's not the right class. I think it needs to be an administrative assistant. I'm having a heck of a time trying to fill this position. I think that, it's really a difficult job for somebody to take for that pay. So right now, how we are covering this office is the person in the assistant town clerk. If you haven't met him, he's wonderful. Stephen, he does not work Mondays.
It's great.
Stephen is working an extra day on Mondays. We have the Sterling's, administrative assistant for building. Sterling is closed on Fridays. She's working on Fridays and we're paying her $33 an hour. We have it posted at $21 an hour. We're paying her $33 an hour to work Fridays to help get these things processed. And Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they're coming to our office and Faye and I are trying to figure out how to help folks.
Great.
The
Can I
Board of
ask you-
Health is getting no staff support right now. The Board of Health is getting zero staff support other than what's provided by the city of Worcester through the Health Alliance.
If I could just ask a question here, Jen, about, again, my personal experience in December was, I believe it was Cheryl, who has retired from this job, was pressed into service trying to manage the disaster that was going on in that
Yep.
department. But I met
That's
a new-
correct.
I met a new administrative assistant who was going to start. Is she gone already?
She is.
What happened there?
That's a personnel matter. I can't talk
I'm
about
sorry.
that.
I didn't mean that.
That's
But
okay.
she,
That's okay.
yeah, okay. It wasn't a money issue.
Whatever, it's, yeah,
I mean, I'm not gonna, I
we
wouldn't
don't-
say that money wasn't a factor.
Okay, all right. I mean, I don't need to know more than that. I just surprised that she's gone already because she just started the beginning of the year, so, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is a technical, difficult job. And you can't just throw somebody in there. If you think about what they're dealing with, these complex building permits. I don't know how to,
Even simple ones. My point was that basically the contractor comes in, rips out your bathroom and cannot do anything now until the inspector shows up. And if
that's
the
correct.
inspector
Because they have
doesn't
to,
show up,
before you put up those walls.
you want to talk about, service to the public. Whoa, wow. It's they have to show up. They have to be there. And they
Right.
can't take a week or more to do that.
So Jen, is
We are
it,
getting,
will
I'm
there be
sorry
any,
to-
anything on the positive side from local receipts or anything? Will it, because of increased inspections or something like that, or is that?
yeah, actually, one of the builders that's doing a 40B, tried to say, will we waive the inspection fees? And I said, heck no,
Right.
I need those.
Right. And that's a substantial
Um,
piece of revenue for the town. I mean, it's not nothing to bark at. I mean, in the last couple of years.
Not
it's been
insignificant.
It's
That's
between
right.
100 and 200 grand. So
Mm-hmm. All right, anything else on kind of the building? And you know what?
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know if the 45,000 is gonna fix it, to be fair.
Yeah.
I might be coming back to you and saying that's,
it's not enough.
I've been doing interviews, but this is a challenging one to fill. Next two are flat. But now we're gonna continue, when I said we're gonna continue on the conversation of regionalization, doesn't necessarily cost less, but you enhance services, animal control. So currently, animal control is a stipend position. The person essentially, if they get a call, they address the call. They don't have an office. It's a personal cell phone. I don't think they've ever done a dog hearing for a dangerous dog ever. But the town of Rutland has a pretty robust animal control service. They have their own shelter. They already are regionalized with a number of other towns. But they're looking to expand that with adding on Leicester, Sterling, Boylston, West Boylston to join their regional animal control. And if we're still, I would say we're not in the infancy of talking, but we're still working out some things. But if this is a go, that is our number. So 100% increase almost, but not a whole lot of money to have somebody show up that in a uniform
Yeah.
with identification and can bring the animal. We don't have a place to bring an animal now. We're bringing them to Worcester Animal Rescue. But if Worcester's full, your animal is potentially going as far as Springfield.
Yeesh.
And Jen, what happens if this doesn't work out?
If this doesn't work out, then we stick with what we got. Because we started this conversation, so April and Boylston and I were kind of shopping for somebody to take us on, essentially. So we started this conversation with like a 495 kind of cluster of towns that have a pretty good system. And they decided ultimately that we were too far away for them. So we got ditched by those guys. So now we've moved over to the Rutland crew, but there's not really anybody else. If they're not inclined to go with us, there's not really anybody else.
How many people do they have? I mean, it's a pretty large geographic area they're trying to cover.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think they have, I'm just gonna Google, I think they have 2 right now. Let's see if it says it on here. You can see I've Googled it, it's purple. Rutland, yeah, so the main person is this Jennifer, great name. I think I think that there's 2 though right now, or 1.5. There's 1.5 now. So they'd be adding 1.5. And I have, where's their list of towns? It's like Barry, Paxton, Rutland, Hubbardston. And then Sterling, West Boylston, and Leicester to join. But honestly, we don't have a whole heck of a lot of calls. But when you have someone that has a dog bite or a dangerous dog, you need somebody in this position to handle that dog.
So what do we do now? Do we have somebody there now? I mean, what's the?
We have a person that's stipended who responds to an extent. I don't think he's had, since coming aboard, I don't think he's had an encounter where there was a date. That's what I was saying. He's never had a dangerous dog hearing. I don't think that's come before him yet. So, and Boylston has nothing.
Okay. And they would be responsible for if there is like some kind of an animal issue. They would house the animal as well.
Yeah,
Although-
if the dog, like you have to, if a dog bites somebody, you have to quarantine the dog for X
Quarantine,
number of days and that whole thing.
we have that.
If
we have
there's
that
a dog hoarding situation,
We had that great dog house out in back of the DPW. We could always.
yeah, you've seen it now, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, the other
Alright.
animal they deal with are skunks. They'll come and trap a skunk.
Oh, I see. Okay.
If
Okay.
it's a problem animal that's causing problems.
All right.
All right, anything else in that section? No?
So, so assuming this regionalization thing takes effect, this could be a little more volatile than some of the other line items. It just seems to me regionalization, while it has its benefits, also can have its costs in early firing up years. Am I correct? Because we don't have a
I
lot
know,
of
I
say.
think that that's probably the cost. I mean, they had
Okay.
it pretty drilled down. That's the cost, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
All right, we talked about schools. Oh, sorry, I should have passed. So total public safety, 5.12% increase, $184,000. Okay, highway. So, we are still negotiating for the contract that started in July of 2023, but we are nearly done, but I'm anticipating that we are gonna have a final contract. There are some market adjustments in the contract for the earlier steps on salary. I can't really say too much more at this point until I have a signed contract. Okay, so, sorry.
All
That's
right.
the way
Jen,
that
are
is.
you embedding in the 768 for the salaries what you think the number is going to be, or is that going to be
Yes,
better?
yes. No, I'm embedding what I think the number is gonna be.
Okay. So
But
of the
again, this
11,
is a draft. This is a draft.
we get that. We heard you.
Okay,
We heard you.
okay,
I promise.
okay.
Of that 11%, then what percent is the average raise right now by contract?
I can't talk about that right now.
But in the existing
This
contract?
is. They don't have a contract.
I know.
They're working on expired contract.
I get that, but if we're looking last year to this year.
I think that's kind of irrelevant though, based upon when that contract was negotiated, because this is a much different time.
It gives a point of reference.
I'm happy, so once, if and when a contract is executed, but the select board as a whole hasn't even, I've only have this with the negotiating team right now, I'm not trying to hide the ball but I can't share something that's not publicly here, but I'm happy to, once that contract is signed, go over that.
Okay, I'll leave it be, since it's a draft budget, I hear.
So, but I can't discuss what's in a contract that the whole select board hasn't even seen at this point.
Of course.
Okay. Other than that, not a whole heck of a lot of changes. Okay, so $86,000. But not a lot, some minor changes to some supply and service lines.
No addition to staff or anything.
No addition to staff. Numbers
Right.
of people? No, we hope to fill the vacancies that we have though.
Okay.
So we currently have a part-time admin that was added last year that has not been able to be filled. We have a mechanic position that's been vacant for I don't know how many years, but it is years, plural, that we are unable to fill. And we have an equipment operator that's been a few months that we are unable to fill. So we hope to not add, but fill the positions that are presently there. but
Gotcha.
no new positions.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Snow and ice. So folks know that this is the one budget that you can deficit spend. Unless you don't fully expend the prior year's appropriation or it goes down. So Leslie went back and did a 10-year analysis on snow and ice. And it's never been less than 75,000, but more often is in the hundreds of thousands. So I increased this originally by 75,000, but I robbed it today actually by $10,000. And the reason is because as these other areas get tighter and tighter, to fix this in the spring will become more difficult. So I'm trying to boost it up on the front end so that we don't have to find hundreds of thousands on the back end. With that said, if we fall out of balance for some reason, this is my first spot that I'm going to grab money from.
What do you mean by
Okay.
that? Because you can't go backwards on this, can you?
So we increased it from 166,000 to 231,000. So if in getting to May 20, I need to grab money from somewhere, I'm grabbing it from this line. I won't increase this line.
You're
Are you with
grabbing
me,
it from,
Chris?
so doing like an interdepartmental transfer
No,
from.
No, Chris, the implication here is this will be before the budget is passed.
Oh, I
Correct.
see. Oh, okay. Oh, I thought you were talking
Thank
about
you,
next
Ray.
year. Okay, thanks.
I
I
think
thought
if
you-
No.
If this is in the budget for FY 25 at 231, it must be in the budget at 231 for FY 26. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. All right. Anything else on that?
Nope.
Okay. Streets, no real changes. That's just cost of electricity. Darn lucky we have these LEDs because that is cheap. That is cheap for streetlights. And if an override were to fail, I would turn the streetlights off, but I can't because it's only $29,000. So, trash costs. We actually the Solid Waste Advisory Task Force just had a meeting today with our trash vendor, Republic. We are in the last year of the contract with Republic. We are anticipating a very significant increase in the new contract, regardless of who we go with. Our rep from DEP was there today and was talking to us after the fact. And she stated, is somebody asking a question? Okay. And she stated that a similarly sized community just went out and got quotes, and theirs increased by about $300,000.
Jeez.
So they did confirm that we would be looking at double-digit increases in the new contract. They didn't say what those double-digit increases, double-digit percent increases, I should say double-digit percent increases. And they also confirmed that it would be unlikely that at least our current contractor would bid on us if we did not move to carts. Still, you can keep the pay-as-you-throw bags, but that they would require carts.
What do you mean carts?
Carts
Like
would also
trash-
come,
Like trash.
like the toters.
So like what Holden has?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
what Holden
right.
has.
Yep, thanks.
So,
That would be a
Go ahead.
cost house. A household would have to buy their own carts.
so there's different ways you can do it. You can either, so, the average household, they said, was $120. So for the total town, it would be approximately $300,000 to buy the carts. So either each household would have to buy the carts for the 120. They could work the carts into the contract over 5 years and kind of spread out that 300,000 over 5 years, or the town can go and procure the carts on their own. More to come on that, but I'm flagging this and kind of sitting here for a minute because when I said, when I'm talking about, yes, we do have a balanced budget. Yes, we do not need the override this year, but this is going to be a factor in next year's budget of significance. All right. Anything else on trash?
When you talk about carts, Jen, are you talking about the ones that are automatically dumped? In other words, a hook comes out of the side of the truck, dumps it in.
That's correct.
Nobody has
That's
to get
correct.
out of the truck. Yeah, okay.
That's correct. And that's the reason why the industry is moving in that direction. That's the reason why if we didn't move to carts, this company in particular would be unlikely to bid on us. They see it at automation as, at least they express outwardly that it's a safety issue for their folks. I'm sure it's also a timing and efficiency issue. But yes, the hook comes out, lifts it up, dumps it in, and there's a camera that views what's going out. Anything else on trash? All right.
Well, what's the timing on that, Jen? When is the contract up?
So the contract is up at the end of FY25. So June of next year.
Okay.
So SWAT is deciding, and there's another related article on the town meeting warrant to increase trash contracts or allow the town the opportunity to increase trash contracts from a 3-year contract to a 5-year contract. So trash is not subject to Chapter 30B, the procurement laws, but it is bound by a 3-year contract. So we have been told that we will get better pricing if we have the ability to go to a 5-year contract. And the Solid Waste Advisory Task Force is currently deciding, do they want to engage in direct negotiations with our current contractor, or would they like to go out in a competitive process? There's pros and cons of both. If the Solid Waste Advisory Task Force decides that they would like to execute a new contract with our current provider, it's likely that they'll engage in that conversation well ahead of the expiration of this contract.
Okay, thank you.
Jen, does this also include recyclables?
Yes,
And will we have to go to a distributed, a division of recyclables, paper, plastic? We
nope,
don't know
it
yet.
still would be single stream, but you'd have to put it in a cart.
Single stream in a cart, okay.
So you'll have 2 carts. You'll have a cart for trash and a cart for recycling.
Got it. Okay.
So Jen, was it our choice to limit the trash contract to 3 years?
No, I think actually your last contract is 5 years, but
Oh, it's
you
5.
did it as part of a competitive bid process.
Oh, I see.
So if we don't, okay,
So if we hadn't done that, we were limited to 3, but we really don't need to do that, as it turns out. Is that what you're saying?
well, if this article passes at town meeting, then we can have a 5-year contract and not go out to bid.
And not go out to bid. Okay, thanks. So it's basically a town bylaw.
It's a
Thanks.
local option.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. You're welcome. So total public works, 10.5% increase, $189,000. Oh, Board of Health, this is just an old line from when that part-time salary lived there. Okay. Council on Aging. So the big difference in this salary line for the Council on Aging is the chef. So it's pulling the chef into the salary line. Food costs are really high, so they are using the formula grant to purchase food. But that's the large amount of that increase. Any
Is the
questions
chef,
on that?
is the chef getting all the benefits, insurances and all that stuff?
No, part-time person.
Thank you.
As I remember, last year, we passed a separate line item for paying for the chef for the first year under the.
I don't think it was
of it being a
last
chef.
year. Ray, I think it was a couple years ago,
Was it?
and
No.
so,
But
but
point
that's
being,
running out.
do we know
We'll
if
use the rest of
fees
that.
that we're collecting for lunch are offsetting this 20K increase?
No, they're not even covering the food. Lunch is only $5.
Okay,
No, this is so that lunch program, to answer it another way, the lunch program is subsidized.
okay.
I like to say this, though, I do like to say when people say, oh, well, if you just shut down the senior center, you'll solve all your budget problems. And here's an easy, well, it only costs $170,000 to run. So,
Plus the principal and interest on the debt. We'll leave that alone.
right. Yeah, but that doesn't go away if you shut
Yeah.
the building down. You still have to
Right.
pay that. They're still
Right.
coming for that,
That's true. Yeah.
unless you sold it. So.
Yeah.
Veterans benefits, I think we can keep this flat. We had some folk unfortunately leave the program. There might be one more coming on, but I think that's fine to leave that as is. So total human services, 247,000, 10.47 increase, but only $23,000 increase. Culture and recreation is really the library. There's the celebrations account, but it's really the library. So library, the purchase services is where you see the biggest increase. And that's, why is that? I'm not remembering. Why did that increase? I have to see. I was doing so good from memory. Until I wasn't.
I don't remember.
You got 80% of the way through without having to question.
That's
At least to fix the woodpecker holes in the ephes. I don't know. That could be.
No,
No,
it's not.
That'd be a
I'm-
six-figure
Yeah.
number.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. It's got something to do.
Alright.
It's got probably got something to do with his contracts, I'm sure.
Purchase services. Well, that's not helping. Okay,
I saw him this morning too. I should have asked him. If I'd known. I
he's
would've-
great.
Yeah, he is good.
We lucked out.
Yeah.
Books and materials, okay, he must have given, hold on, what's this? Purchase services chart, no, I don't want a chart. Oh, utilities, okay, it's gonna be a lot of there. Okay, here we go, can you see that screen?
No,
No.
No,
Oh. All right, well, I'll just
You're
tell you
still
what it
you're
says.
still sharing the other one, yeah, so it doesn't.
All right, so it's their Verizon, their utilities, their gas, everything's increasing on them. Their gas, electrical, MCOR for their HVAC.
Oof.
It's all their stuff to keep the building open.
It's 10, yeah.
wouldn't that be the same for all the municipal buildings as far as the?
No, that building's
facility?
expensive. Mm-mm. That building is expensive to run. But
It's probably
do
a
wanna
lot,
know,
probably a lot with the broadband too, because Verizon's very expensive. And I know that they have exclusive, right? I mean, they're not on the town broadband, they're on their own,
they're on their own.
correct?
So two things that this brings up though, that could
Hmm.
help all budgets somewhat. One is that we put in for a municipal fiber grant to connect the fiber backbone to all of our municipal buildings. It runs right through town. It's coming from Selco in Shrewsbury. And it's also coming from Lamb in Sterling. And the municipal light plant's already hooked up. So if we get funded, we will hook up all of our buildings to that. And those internet costs will go down greatly and we'll have a lot faster service. This is a future plan for MLP to bring this to households in West Boylston, but they're starting with hooking up the town buildings if we get this funding. So that's number one. Number two is our shared facilities director is looking at combining all the HVAC contracts for both West Boylston and Sterling into one contract. And so all of the buildings, that high cost that we're paying, we have individual contracts for each building with places like New England Mechanical would go away. So is that a panacea to that $95,000 purchase service line? No. Does it help? Yes. But overall, Mike, he kept a incredibly tight budget, only increasing by $22,000. I have asked him to reach out to Holy Cross and ask them to readjust their figure that has not been readjusted, because they do not pay taxes. And they donate to the library instead. So if they were to increase that, that would be great. All right, any questions on library?
Yeah, you said it went up 22,000?
Right.
Right.
It looks like 12.
Well, 12 for
So 12,000 in
salaries.
salary, 10,000 in purchase service, 22 total.
I'm just looking
Oh.
at the total library line. It's only 12.
Something's wrong there. Okay, I will, yep, something's wrong.
His salaries didn't go up. It doesn't
Okay.
look like they went up.
No,
Oh, you know what? It's because there was a budget fix in this year. Because we increased it
That's-
the 10,000 over what was approved last year.
he's right.
If you look at the
It's the budget. This column's the budget fix, this middle column.
Yeah.
So it is 22,000 over FY 24.
But it's substantially less when you take out that budget fix.
I put that budget fix column in there because sometimes it's a one-time outlier thing, but sometimes it's no, it is more real.
Yep.
It was a ongoing thing. All right, debt service going down a little bit. Probably not after this town meeting.
All the good news.
All right, let's go down to this big chunk here. When I say that most of the budget is parts that people don't care about. School represents approximately 50% of the budget. And these lines highlighted in blue represent approximately 25% of the budget. And there's not much we can do about a lot of them. So our assessment from Worcester County Retirement, almost a 10% increase, but $160,000. That's substantial. Health insurance, we did receive a 6.6% health insurance increase. You do not see that here because there's other things in that line. But this line is squeezed so tight. This was this line historically is a place that you would go to fix snow and ice. This is a place that we didn't know how many people were coming on, and so there was a lot of, not a lot, but there was more extra family plans here than we have currently, but we don't know who's coming on. We have to have additional family plans sitting here. This is tight. This is very tight. This is as close to real as we probably can get. And so, yeah, that's great. It looks like it didn't go up, but know that in here is a 6.6% increase on a well, it's not all health insurance premiums that we pay out, but on a $3 million to $4 million budget had a 6.6% increase. We are locked into a 6.6% increase for next year. So we were being threatened with double-digit increases here.
So,
Our
to be
health,
clear, Jen, you're just being aggressive on assumptions as to how many people are going to take the plan.
aggressive on assumptions, yes. Yep. So I think that this is very close to reality. But
So
again-
realistically, yeah, so realistically, we had a, $150,000, $200,000 increase that we're just not, we're backing out some of the cushion that we had in there in prior years.
correct.
That amount of.
We're
that
backing
amount
out the
of cushion.
cushion
Which
and
is
we're
gonna
backing
affect-
out the ability to fix other budgets with,
Right.
say,
with that
free
cushion.
cash. So free cash is gonna become a bigger problem in the future.
Yep, free cash will be a bigger problem likely. You're right.
Go global warming.
Go global warming.
The general insurance is still an assumption. So I assume 10%. I also am getting that quoted from an alternative company. So that could be less, but I think 10% safe. I'd love to know what our quote would be though, because it might be a cost saver there. So this whole section is $6,695,291. It's a 3% increase, but it's an increase of almost $200,000. So there is 25% of our budget that we can't really control and that the residents don't see and that the residents don't care about,
Right.
other than they want people to work here to an extent. To the extent they want people to work here, they need benefits. All right, and then the ESCO lease, this is told to us what we are paying on it, and it is $270,000. I don't know how many years are left on this. I
It
think
goes
we have
out,
a ways.
it goes out a little ways. I think it's like 28 or something like 30. It might be 30,
Yeah.
Jen. It's a little bit out there.
Was it
Good
20-year term, Chris? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I just got some of the information on ESCO too, but I think it's out there. Like actually, you know where it is? It's in the shared file. I did load it up. Local estimated. What did I do with it? Oh, Jesus.
Just a comment here on the slides. This is another place I had a comment, which is that we show a nice pie chart and 25% of that pie chart says other. I don't think we can do that. We have to label it with something meaningful. Benefits.
Employee benefits risk management is what we call it here.
Anything other than other. 'Cause
Yeah, we'll do
Oh,
that.
you know what?
Yeah. Go
This
ahead.
whole section is called other.
That's what I
That's
meant.
why it's called other,
Yeah,
but
Yeah,
it's
we'll
it's
definitely
really
do
the
that.
large majority of it. Well, debt service,
yep.
debt service, so it could be debt service, employee benefits and risk management and other, because there is a little bit of other in here,
I
but
wouldn't put other in at all. I would put just a little list of, just as you said, benefits, debt service, and purchased energy services. But others just, I mean, it's not a word that a taxpayer wants to see.
Yeah, I hear that.
Looks like waste, you know?
So I just wanna, so the average, I wanna go back to the school for a second. The average increase to the school. Right, 13 is 2.82%. Is that right, Chris? Am I remember that right?
Yep. That's for us, yes. But for the school itself, it was, yes, no, that's right, 2.82.
So if I was to give them the average. If I was to give them the average, or stay consistent with that 2.82%, I'd be giving the school another $90,000 here. Does $90,000 get them out of their $1 million hole? No. So that's,
It's a tenth of the way. Right,
right, it helps. It helps, but where do I take it from, right? So
right. No,
I
exactly
can take
right.
it from snow and ice.
No,
Like, it's just not here, right?
no, you're right. You're right. Isn't it?
Do you want me to stop sharing? Anything else that people want to look at on here?
Anything on the budget? I mean, I know we all have it as well, but is there anything while you got Jen there with it open? No,
So Jen, this is first pass.
Well,
Here-
not first pass.
No.
It's like pass a lot of passes.
Wow.
Okay, it's a draft
It's
budget.
your first pass.
What's your sense of when you're going to be at like a 95% confidence? You've got some negotiations
I'm-
ongoing. You've got a bunch of other things coming.
I'm pretty good with this budget.
Okay.
Because again, I have a little bit of that buffer in that snow and ice increase. So if I'm moving the deck chairs a little bit, so to speak. Like, if, let's say, for example, the insurance comes back at 11% and not 10%. Okay. That's not catastrophic. I'll just move that out of the snow and ice again. So. Any other questions?
Anything else? Do you want to do revenue at all? Or I think revenue we've all seen. Leslie did send us the numbers. I don't think there's any real surprises there. It's the usual.
I don't know that we're gonna make our new growth estimate that we pushed it, but hopefully other receipts will come in stronger. Receipts are still conservative, so
Other receipts, you guys usually budget low, right? I think that you usually come in fairly low with those. So sometimes we get a little boost.
Yep.
What do you mean? What do you mean new growth?
Yep.
We're not gonna meet that. Come on.
I don't know. Not good. There's only one house permit. Crazy.
But you got but you've got, what's his name coming, the Prospect Street, there's 4 houses coming on there. They've got, I don't think they haven't,
No, I think they're on.
gotten to occupancy yet. I'm sure they haven't.
I
I'd be
thought they were
surprised.
rented, yeah. I thought they
No,
were
I don't
rented.
think so. I don't think so. So that's a little bit of something. I mean, it's not
All
gonna
right.
be,
I will take it.
the bad news is you'll probably come with kids for the schools too, so that'll offset it. Because, but no, thanks for that. That's great. Any questions so far? So we're still on a split article, I guess, for the budget, right? So I guess my question on this is, when you do finally land on, if this is as final as this is, and I don't know if there's going to be anything else, I would imagine you're going to put in another column to make it even more smaller print, to include an override budget as well, or is that,
Well, for the town side, because assuming the budget gap stays closed, the town side, the real difference for our override budget is not on the expenditure side.
right?
It's really on the getting that free cash out of the budget.
Okay. Okay, so you're saying that there would be no difference on the town's budget that you're presenting?
Not, I mean, if they
Okay.
let me, I'd change a lot of things, but I don't think that's gonna
No.
happen. So not for FY 25.
And at this point, we're not anticipating any changes from the school for FY 25, other than they may look, I mean, I
Chris,
don't
I
know.
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
I'll
sure.
call
they
you tomorrow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the thing is, and is it too soon for you to share any of the good stuff as far as,
Override? Our
yeah,
number for an override, our projection,
where your number comes in year over year for an
2
override?
million.
2 million
2 million for the town.
for the town. Oh, wow. And based on your estimates, that'll get us through, is that a 5-year, 3-year, 5-year?
5-year.
5-year?
Mhm.
When you say town, that includes schools?
No.
No,
I hate to go back to trash, but will we try to find a way to charge for trash disposal that will offset that increase you're expecting when we renegotiate the contract? You know, kind of like we went to the bags.
that's a that's a possibility on the table, but it's just shifting the taxes.
It
So
is.
you're either gonna pay it to, like, you're just shifting it from,
Yeah, I'm just, but well, yeah. So when we do the override, if we have to subsidize the trash, it's gonna be in there. So, yeah. Okay.
yeah, so that accounts for, so there's, it accounts for some things that aren't in the budget now that need to be in the budget, like our MS4 compliance. We have that funded with ARPA right now, but that needs to get into the budget, or we need another way to pay for it. It's not cheap. So there are some things like that. But what we did is, just to kind of go through the methodology so you understand how we projected this out. We didn't want to just look back 5 years to go forward 5 years, because we had the COVID years in there, and those are not normal years. So we looked back 10 years. We looked at overall trends and lines over that 10-year period. So what is the percentage? And we really went line by line. What is the trend here? And then we took, so some things we applied that 10-year trend forward for the next 5. But some things we said, no, this trend, something's happened in this market. So health insurance, it's not really following a 10-year trend. It's more following the past 5-year trend. So apply that percentage increase to the next 5. And we looked at the fact that we haven't had a lot of new growth in the last 10 years. And so that's going to stay relatively flat. So, so that's how we approach that. Certainly we hope, so the other thing is that this is an override that we do not plan to tax to the level. The override is to change what is allowable to tax to. But at least in FY, so this is why I do need these numbers from the school. At least in FY 25, what I would be saying for the town is we're only going to use 300,000 of that 2 million that we could use. We've always been a town, right, that taxes to the levy limit. With an override, we will now have excess levy capacity. We wouldn't be taxing all the way to the levy limit, but it's there if we need if we need it through FY 25.
So as far as your budget would not change, it's just your funding source would change with
For
the change.
FY 25, correct?
Okay.
Correct.
And Jen, the time horizon here, 3 years versus 5 year, what do we call
Where did
projection
it come
of
from?
use of levy capacity? Has that been discussed in public anywhere as far as why 5 versus 3 or vice versa?
I don't think anybody's asked the question why. I've talked about 5. It was a recommendation by town council.
Okay,
Because there's there's also a lot of unknowns, right? I am not gonna promise the residents, this is a art, not a science. What we have done is we have looked at our history. We know where things have been. This is our best estimate of where things are going, but I can't promise the residents that this will last 5 years. I don't
Right,
know what's
okay.
gonna happen. I don't, there's outside factors that we don't know, but this is based on what we know today. What I know right now today, I believe it to last for 5 years.
and just to be transparent, the reason I ask, if we fold in, you can make your own guess what the schools may come in with. The number may be a little more daunting than the public is willing to deal with if it's at 5 years. Just a concern.
I still believe that I'd be shocked if this passes this year. I will be shocked. So
Well, I mean, either way, I mean, I guess the important.
I'm also
one
a
of
pessimist.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
A good smile.
but
I'm
that's
super
it's always-
negative, even though I smile.
keep the expectations low, right? That's that way you won't
Yeah.
be disappointed, right?
Right.
But on the 5-year line, right? Just to keep, I think that was to align with your expiration of ESCO, because that goes away in 2030. I just had
Okay.
Oh,
that's a
yeah,
good
that's-
reason,
anyway.
yeah.
So there you
That
go.
is exactly why I did it.
I guess the other piece is, and I think critical to any education process we have, Jen, is part of the understanding and telling people how that we arrive at a levy limit
Mhm.
that is allowed to us should the Prop 2.5 override pass at a level, but we're not going to tax to that level. So I guess that comes back to, okay, who decides what level we're going to tax to in that?
They do.
So that's the town meeting, and I guess that's what we have to be crystal clear on, and hopefully that will increase some participation in town meeting.
I mean, they do. I mean, it's my budget. It's recommended or not by finance committee, but ultimately they decide. And I think that, maybe we'll have to put in somewhere with each budget, this, like in the explanations.
Yeah.
If not this year, but next year, because I can't put it in the explanations this year, but if it passes, we are intending to use X dollars of the $4 million authority.
Yep.
We're X, Y dollars the following year, Z dollars the subsequent year. So that they know exactly how much we're coming up against that. Now, hopefully other things happen during this time, right? Like, hopefully new growth, there's some.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe this is gonna last us a long time.
Yeah. But I think that's important.
Maybe
'cause
there's other things that change. I don't know.
Jen, I thought you were a pessimist.
Oh,
but I
it's
think
not
that,
gonna happen. You're right.
but I think-
DCR.
but the other piece being, look, this is a tax calculator, because let's face it, the bulk of our tax levy we're burdening it coming from residential homes. It's not like we have a huge commercial tax base here. So I think it's important that we just educate that. Look,
Can can I share my screen again? Is that, can I,
Yeah.
do you mind? I
Not at
actually
all.
want to bring up that tax calculator, because as soon as you said it, I said. "Ooh." So, all right. Okay. All right, so this is that neat tool that I talk about. So if I put in, why is that not? No, not that many zeros. But the right number of zeros? Yes, okay. So let's say if we need 300,000 of a $2 million authorization. This calculator shows you that the average single family assessed value is $467,342. Their tax bill is $6,907. And it would, a $300,000 override would be an increase of $98.14. And then it shows if your house is under average or over average, what that impact would be
Yep.
for your household then. Now, if we take that 300,000, I don't want this to autofill, it's driving me nuts. And we make this a 2 and add a 0.
It's 20
Okay.
million.
No, 2 million, that's 2 million. So
Yep.
$2 million override.
Hmm.
Now that impact is $640 a year. For the
On a-
average house.
On a, yeah, on the,
A $4 million override.
on a $300,000 house. Yeah.
On a $467,000 house is a $1,285 increase on top of the $6,907.
Right.
Okay. So if we're only increasing though, so this is the, let's say the school comes, I don't know what they're gonna come back, but let's say they say we also need to. That doesn't mean in FY 25 that everybody's taxes go up that if we're not using it in the budget.
Right.
I also don't like to necessarily say average because a whole lot of people are either under or above that. So I really hope folks look, like when we put this out, they'll look for what is their household? Because
Yeah.
it really makes a difference quickly here if you're on the
Yeah.
upper side of that.
It does. But that's, yeah, again, I think the education piece where we have to be sure to inform people that
Well, the
It's-
school's gonna use $1 million of that right off the top. We know that. And we're gonna use 300,000 of it. So, we're talking 30% first year.
Well, I don't know that they're gonna need them. I mean, one of the things that I'm trying to impart to the school is that, yes, they're relying on some one-time revenues, but those one-time revenues don't go to zero next year.
Mhm.
They're just unknown or unpredictable. But it's not zero.
but it is unknown. I mean, that's the thing.
But
If
it is unknown.
But that's a pretty big increase that the residents will feel in 1 year if
Yeah.
it goes up 30%.
Mhm.
If it's 1.3 million,
That's also on top of the
the
2
average, 1.3 million, the average would be $415
Per house.
on the average household.
So if we have the override, we still get 2.5%. The town still gets 2.5% for FY 26 as well, right?
Correct.
So the override, yeah, is 2.5% on the limit.
Mhm.
An override permanently changes that limit, and now the 2.5% is applied to the new limit
New limit, so.
each and every year thereafter.
So we say 30%, it'll be another 5% or so, yeah.
No, because we're not necessarily taxing to the limit, though. That's the difference, because this town has always taxed all the way to the limit.
So the tax to the limit would be the 30% if the schools take the full $1 million.
Well, if we would, if the town I mean, to take $4 million, the $4 million is the, I guess, the forecasted amount that will be necessary over the next 5 years,
No, I
yeah. So
I'm
it's not,
interested in the first year impact. First year impact is what we choose to tax in the first year.
and that's where that's
Yep.
going to be totally negotiable. I mean, I think the desire is to cut into some of these structural deficits that we've had year over year. So in a worst case, I would say the first year would be the $1.3 million, right? Because we're ending that $300,000 deficit on the town side and the $1 million on the school side. That said, I don't know that we want to undo. I mean, the schools still have to have their hands in for, because they do have these pots of money, circuit breaker, school choice, all that sort of stuff. And even though their uses have changed somewhat over the years and everything, we still believe that they do provide an important component in the current year budget, those forecasted funds that they're anticipating getting.
But if we
And that-
tax it $1.3 million, Chris, it's $100 in taxes on the average house for $300,000, right? So that's going to be $400 increase on the average bill if in the first year.
On $1.3 million, if we go that far, but
Mhm.
Chris, maybe say what you just said again about the pots of that.
Yeah, I mean,
And
we're looking at structural deficits here, but by the same token, we're also looking at being a little more, thoughtful on the use of revenues that are accruing in the current year, as opposed to building kind of reserves. That has been, I'm not going to say always done, but it's been, I think there's been periods of that in the past in, different areas, just to have some, I guess, cushion for the uncertainty. I mean, we talk about uncertainty on the town side. The school side does the same thing, and I think they do it very conservatively from the standpoint of, we've seen in the past that they've been able to afford different things that were initially outside their budget. I think what we're looking at them to do is just be a little more thoughtful, or just drill down and say, look, times are tough. We have to use these funds a little more efficiently in the current year, as opposed to holding back. Now that's tough. I mean, nobody said they're doing that. Nobody said that that's the way to do it. But I think those are the.
Yeah, you're going to get this question when you try this. We try to do some education here, which is how much are my taxes going to go up in the first year?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
the second year, or third year. I mean, it's and to say, well, we don't know is kind of tough.
Well, that's why, Pete, that's why the school is supposed to be providing this number tomorrow,
Yeah. Oh,
by
yeah.
end of business day tomorrow.
Yeah. So we'll.
And we should have,
So-
and frankly, we should, and Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, but we should also have an annual number for the next 5 years, or an expected number for the next 5 years.
At least
So-
I said, that number becomes less and less real in years 4 and 5. But I'm really looking for pretty close to as accurate as you can be at this point for FY 26 and 27.
Right.
And I think that, in my opinion, I can talk about the town till I'm blue in the face. I have no problem talking about that, but I really am not the best person to advocate for the schools and their needs. They're gonna need to do that piece on their own. I mean, or with us, but they need to be the ones explaining this. School budgeting is not there yet.
It's
above my pay grade.
and correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, but in the meetings that we've had with the superintendent and his staff and so forth in the school board, we've said, I've also intimated that we're not the experts on the school budget, because we don't get
Correct.
involved from the finance committee standpoint. We'd welcome additional transparency to see exactly how that works. But if that, in this educational process, you will have to be a part of this, because schools on your budget, questions on your budget, which is 50% of the town's budget, will come up.
Undoubtedly. I can't just say, well, it's $14,317,000.
Right.
That raises a question, Chris. We have our special task force, but that's really looking at the town's budget. Does the school's gonna do their own education as a separate item, or are they gonna join together with us in some way?
We are hoping to have them join together. I mean, I've reached out to them for some additional information. I will certainly share this, whatever presentation we come up with before time, and we will invite them. We have not asked them to be part of the putting this part together, but when it comes to the school piece, we would ask them, yes, to definitely be involved.
I think for the night, for the educational night or nights as they may become, there has to be somebody who can speak on this from the schools.
I think we all agree, yeah. We can't.
No, we can't speak. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So we'll
Yeah,
continue to
but
follow that.
To continue along the lines that Pete was talking about, and Jen's trying to kind of offer a softer approach to the budget differential year over year. The reality is that this year the schools have been willing in a process to balance the budget to dig deeper into that reserve that they have. And I guess the question is, will we be able to convince them to continue that process in future years? That would have a huge impact on the total number. It wouldn't be 1.3 if they're willing to continue to be as aggressive on those reserves. So
They're saying they're not going to be available. They're gone. That's what they're not there next year.
They're saying it's just not going to be, because they have some variability in a lot of those funds, and I think they have to budget the way they've budgeted, outside of keeping a little bit of a cushion, is always knowing that there will be demands, because again, it's a year later that they're getting this money at best, and they're not always getting all of it either, depending upon the amount of, they have to meet certain floors and so on and so forth, and they get a percentage over that. And like this year, mid-year, they changed the formula. What was that, school choice, where you can no longer include vocational education, transportation.
Yeah.
That's all
Right.
out now. So where they relied on that heavily over the last few years, that's now, they can't rely on that for voc ed and for transportation. So they have to look elsewhere for that. All they can use is that for salaries and materials.
Instruction,
Yeah, instructional
materials and.
So I mean, that's one
Yeah.
example. So it's tough. So I think just getting an idea, and it might be a phase up. I don't know what it's going to be, but I don't think we're going to see them come back, or at least I'd be surprised. It seems not possible for them to say, yeah, we can suck up another $1 million next year. It's just not there.
no.
It's
Clearly,
just
it would
not
be
there.
nothing in that scale.
No. But that deficit, that's their structural deficit, right? That's what we heard. It's $1 million, and they want to take care of a portion of it.
But they will still be, they still will be offsetting what they receive from, and I made this clear, we are not shifting the school budget 100% to taxation.
Right.
They will still have other
Yeah.
revenue
circuit breakers, school
streams
choice, yeah.
to balance out their
Exactly.
budget. It's not, that's not, it, as far as I'm concerned, excuse me, shifting the budget 100% to taxation is not an
No.
option.
No, I don't think that's the intention. Not at all. Okay. Other questions pertaining to budget? Operating budget, that is, till we move to my next favorite topic for the night, which will be quick because you guys have been very diligent and patient. And but if there's any other questions, speak now. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with, and this is actually in your drive as well. But it's just a quick look at capital. I think this is it here. I hope you guys can see it. So what I've done is I've kind of gone through that.
Chris, can you make this a little bigger, please?
Oh man, Ray, you had to do that, huh? Jeez. Boy, oh boy.
He's a
Thank you.
troublemaker.
Fussy, fussy.
Someone's got to do it.
Actually, that was pretty good, Chris, yeah.
I was amazed I was able to figure that out. Are you kidding me? Jeez. So what I've done is I just basically took that draft that we had a month or so ago with a bunch of stuff on it and narrowed it down to what we have definitely talked about for possible funding in this year, in this budget period, town meeting. So what we've got is DPW. This is for the Public Works and Fire Station building to fund that. I've got that from the Capital Investment Fund. We've got 2 trucks from, and we would definitely look to fund those from the debt exclusion that becomes available on the payoff of a fire truck, I think. And I think that matches up pretty perfectly, actually, to the debt that comes off under our under the limit.
Chris, you might want to just label that inside debt, just to distinguish it.
Okay. Well, oh, I see. Where
Not necessarily right now, just a point of clarification.
Okay. All right. So I've got definite debt. All right. That's fine. I'll put it inside debt. And then down below, we've got a cruiser for the police coming from, just want to make a note of that, Ray. From operating funds, fire, the only thing that we had on there was a backup generator being requested for this time. Now, we did talk about a forestry truck and he did talk about 2 defibrillators, but he's looking for grant money for that. So we'll see where that goes. We don't have a rubber roof request this go around, but that was talked about for the library, and we do have a boiler for the library. So I know there were a lot of iterations going around on boiler and ARPA and Capital Investment Fund. I don't know. I know the last thing I saw was that we were gonna,
They met today.
they met today, yeah. And Michael requested maybe doing one and keeping ARPA available for the second. So I don't know. So
That's where they landed, is to replace them both. So there's ARPA funds for, hold on.
You got to get it reassigned or something, right? Is that the deal?
Yeah, from the spec development for the grant when they were going forward with the whole electrification, there's $30,000 there.
Right.
So we appropriate that to a boiler. And then with Capital Investment Fund, do the other boiler. So split them out and get 2 new boilers at the same time. 2
Okay.
different funding sources.
2 different, okay. So I've got one in here. This one here is for the Capital Investment Fund. If we wanted to put 2 on the, I think he only had an estimate for 1, but
it's just double. That's the same.
just
Yeah.
double, okay. So I mean, so do we want to consider 2, Jen? Is that
I think that based on what they're telling me, I think it does make sense.
okay? So add another boiler. That shouldn't change things too much because as we go down, because again, I already have that one slotted for the Capital Investment Fund. We have 2 not handicap vans, I'm sorry, 2 vans, transportation vans for the schools requested at 41,000 each. And we have Nault Consulting for the design of, I think that was the auditorium, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And that's from ARPA funds coming over from the handicap bathroom over on the other Major Edwards.
Has that already been moved by the select board?
Yes,
So that's done.
That's done.
that's done.
The town hall,
It
we
was,
have,
it was from a handicap bathroom, Ray.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have to reallocate that, Jen, or is that okay, just going
They
over?
did it already. Select board
Okay,
did
they
it
did.
already.
Okay, fine. Town hall, we have burners in the attic for 50,000. And document destruction, ADA walkways on the on the request, but they're off for this time, but they're still hanging around. So I mean, I think that those are things that we may be looking at. You may see again, that's all I'm saying. And then the parks we saw last week with resurfacing the tennis courts and the basketball courts. That's coming in about 70, a little over 70 grand. So, and I did check that it's too late to put this on for the CPA for this time, and I don't know if we'll have time in the fall. I think Jim had mentioned he was waiting until the fall to do this, but it may not come up. And I think there's some issue with whether it's eligible under CPA, but that's certainly worth looking at if it is. So all totaled for this, about just under $900,000. Now, as far as how this synopsis looks at funding it, we've got 276,000 coming out of this capital investment fund. We've got 500 and just under 540,000 coming out of the inside debt exclusion. We've got operating budget 54,803, ARPA 21. So 891 matches 891. At the end of the day, we'll have just about and the 850. So we'll have just about 575,000 left in capital investment fund. And Jen, I'm guessing that you don't have anything intended to go towards that. It's too early to tell, right?
Well, I'm wondering, so we're not using any additional free cash?
I didn't use any, but I certainly, if we have free cash to use, let me know.
I was gonna say, so they've changed the rules on this capital investment fund. Did I say that in one of these meetings already?
No.
Whether it's
Oh,
majority now.
It's not just a straight majority, right? It's not a
The straight majority. So now anything coming from that fund doesn't have the higher threshold.
okay.
So it's like 6 of one, half dozen the other, quite literally now.
Okay.
So if the total is only 275.
Yeah.
At this town meeting,
Yeah.
it does either out of the capital investment fund and I'll move the same in free cash over, or just from free cash and then we'll leave the capital investment fund alone.
Okay. So we can have that
So
discussion.
there's only $75,000 worth of stuff above the 200. So can you go up again?
But what the
Oh, no, it'll be more than that because you have that other 30,000 that you need to add in.
oh, the other 30,
For the
yeah, I didn't
boiler.
have that. I did not have that in there. Correct.
I don't think this is right, Chris. Cause
Think I'm-
200,000 for the study,
Am I missing
50,000 for
something?
the attic,
Hmm.
something's missing.
All right, let me see. That's entirely possible. That's entirely possible. See what I have here, 891. What is it not capturing? T9.
Yeah,
Oh, you know what? I'm missing. Yeah, I'm missing the 200,000.
No, D9 is in there, Chris.
Oh, it is in there. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Looking at it, that's in there. So take that out.
I'm getting that it should be like $350,290.
Well, if I'm looking at 500 of it is, that would be right. Because 500 of it is debt exclusion.
So I just added up the tennis courts, the basketball courts, the town hall burners, the 200,000 for the study, and the boiler which you might have not had, but is $350,290.
D7 minus D53, D17.
I think that total's right.
D53, D17. No. D16 and D22. Yeah, I don't know. It's, I'm not,
Did
it
you-
look,
Are you taking out that 200,000 that's in the I column? Is that what's happening there? I don't know. Why is that highlighted?
oh, no, that's not got nothing to do with it. That's not in any
Okay.
of the formulas. All I'm dealing with is D here. All
Just-
right, well,
But Chris, I mean, just need some time, take it offline and you'll figure it
Yeah,
out.
but either way, let's just say it's only 350,000. We can still do it either way with free
Okay.
cash, or I'll put the free cash in the capital investment fund.
okay. All
Jen,
right.
is that in either scenario with or without the override? You doing the same? You have enough free cash to cover it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we get this free cash out, then now we can actually start doing more stuff and fund OPEB beyond, like, OPEB is not funded, so we don't have a funding plan, so I'd like to do that in the fall. Actually, the fall, we still have one more year of the ARPA money flowing through to OPEB, but after that.
All right. Well, so to come back to this though, I guess I just want to ask everybody, is there any other, I mean, do we need any additional information before you would be comfortable voting on these items, regardless of funding sources? And I'll clean that up and I'll get that around to everybody, but I apologize. I thought I'd gone through this, but maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't.
What are attic burners? I'm not sure. I know what attic burners are.
Part
Jen,
of
what?
the HVAC system, they're part of the HVAC system, they're in the attic.
Okay, all right. So it's the HVAC.
I can get
Is
shut
it-
here.
Is it repair, replacement, or something?
It's
new?
replaced.
It's replaced.
Yeah, they're replaced, end of life. Yeah.
Got it. All right, that makes sense.
So, that's good, Pete. Thanks for that. That's a good question. Anybody have anything else as far as, do we need to bring back any department heads or?
Well, I think it'd be worthwhile to ask the library director to get actual quote for doing the two burners. I'd like to believe if
He
they
has
come
a-
together, there's
he-
some labor savings.
I think the facilities director was talking to them and to see if there's any labor savings, but I don't think there is. That's my understanding. There's not gonna be any labor savings.
Hmm.
And was it 30 or 30-30? Well, because they're two totally separate things. It's a full plus one. If you make one hamburger, making two hamburgers doesn't take less time. You still have to make a whole second hamburger.
Yeah.
I'm
But you've
hungry.
already got the grill
I
turned
need a
on.
hamburger.
Sounds like economics 101.
But there's no economy of scale by getting them out. That's by doing two at one.
Counterintuitive, to be sure.
So I should
I don't
should
think
go
so.
back, so I should update this to include that other burner and just include ARPA as the source of funding for it, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
ARPA is funding both of them or just
No,
one?
just one. Just one.
So do you
Alright.
still want to vote on these, Chris, or are we going to?
Well, I mean, I guess, I know Ray wants to have people come back and revisit some of this stuff, or were you thinking more, Ray, from an operational standpoint, or, I mean?
Well, I guess I had two things that I would want to discuss. And, Jen's telling us there's no economy of doing the second boiler at the same time.
I don't think so.
Makes me wonder, why do we do them at the same time? But also,
Because the other one is still just as old, and so they're the same they were put in at, and I just pulled up the quote, it's actually $33,500 for each. Is the exact
33,500.
number. So 33.5. So the two boilers were put in at the same time. The situation is that one is currently completely down because parts are not available whatsoever for this boiler.
Right.
So we have to replace, well, we don't have to replace one, but if we don't replace any right now, if the other one goes down, then we're truly down. So the thought of replacing both is because when, not if, but when something happens to boiler number 2, there's not going to be parts for that one either.
Yeah, no, I get it. And it's just, it's
And we
no
we
different
have
than
the
the current
money.
scenario because we have the redundant boiler.
So they have both said that they believe that keeping a redundant system is best for that building. We have the funds available for it now. I don't know that we're going to have funds available for it next year. We do know now that we do have funds available.
The other thing, Chris, that I would venture a discussion on is the vans for the school. It said the vans are basically immediately available in inventory, so we could do one now and one in the fall without really impacting them, as I understand it. So I would open a discussion on that point.
We could
We want to
come
get
back.
the transportation staggered in some fashion. This is one way to force that a little bit.
Yeah, he did seem like he was pretty adamant about getting, or they did seem, Chrissy seemed like she was pretty adamant about getting both. Because they did have some substantial repairs and so forth, but we could, again, that would be something we could go back to him with. See how important that is.
But yeah, if they're immediately in inventory, that means they get one in September, one in October,
Yeah,
or one before September and one in October.
well, we can, so do you want to get them back in for that discussion, or you want me to just run that offline, just see how they,
Well, you've got a lot of interchanges with them if you just want to include it in the conversation and see what their thoughts are. And I'm basically saying that, one way or another, that they're ultimately going to need it. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I
Stagger.
know, yeah, it does make sense. I mean, I know I asked that question when they were in, and they were not in favor of that. Obviously, that's, there, but I can mention it to them again. That's come up again. Okay. Ban in May and October, 1 in October.
Is the overall need for 3 vans? And so are they staggering it to the
Yeah,
extent that
they
they're
have.
only asking for 2 now? I don't know.
Yeah, they've had one that was recently, they recently got a used one, I believe, because one was totaled. So
Okay.
so they went, and these both have over 100,000 miles, and they've had some extensive repairs. I'm guessing that they're not exactly easy miles, but that's it. So anyways, all right, I'll ask them, anything else? We're good with the DPW. Pretty good with the library at this point. Actually, I'll increase that to 67,000 while I'm here. So it looks like we may have a new total. Sorry about that. I know the anticipation's killing everybody, right? This is
Real-time accounting.
real time. Don't get scared by that number. We have to take 33.5 and add it in here.
Yeah, Chris, was there anything else you wanted to try to cover tonight?
That's it for tonight. It's been a long meeting, so I hate to do that to everybody, but there we go. So it's gonna be about 500,000 out of capital, leave us with 329 or free cash. I'm guessing you can't handle quite that much, Jen, right? On the free cash side. It's a little over $500,000 with everything else.
Yeah, probably not.
So we can talk about how we might split that up. But I guess I just, so here's the list. I mean, Mary, maybe you can go back to the fire chief and just say, here's what we're voting on. I just want to make sure that you're clear on that. I don't know if, I just want to make sure before we go in, we're all perfectly transparent here. And,
I think he he requested the defibrillator in the truck to come off.
okay, so he's all right with just that then. The chief knows he's getting a cruiser, DPW and fire knows they're getting the design. I'll call the schools and see if they can handle one van at a time. And we'll do, I think that's it. Parks is parks. So sorry about that. I'll save this back up and replace the other file for you. So it's more like $500,000, which could be worse. But that's really all I wanted to cover, other than other business not reasonably foreseeable to the chair. Of which
No.
there is. Go ahead. Mary,
None.
you have something?
No, none. I was just-
Other than pictures of the Azores, right? Which is,
Well, yeah, but
that's good.
we'll
That'll
save
have to
that.
wait. So,
Whatever.
yeah, next meeting. So speaking of which, next meeting, next Thursday. I'm not sure what everybody's schedule is.
I'm not available for that one, but
Ray's
you
not
may have a quorum
available.
otherwise.
And I think Greg, you're out of town, right? Or you may be that day.
Yeah, we'll be on vacation. I mean, it could possibly be available if I can sneak away from the family long enough, for an hour or so. We're gonna be walking around most of the day, so they'll probably all be crashing by about that point anyway. So,
So I
Um,
guess
I don't, I
go-
think Jason's gonna be away next week.
you're away next week?
No, I think Jason's gonna be away.
Oh, Jason's away. Was that Jason's the hiatus there?
That's his Ireland trip.
It's a school vacation.
Oh, is that the West Boylston boys trip to Ireland?
Oh, yes.
Well, do we want
Oh,
to
I
do we want?
Okay.
Oh boy. So he's going to be out. So do we want to kick it out to the 25th? Again, I'm just trying to be, I don't know, Jen, when the select board wants recommendations.
I think we should stick it out.
Yeah, I'm not available on the 25th, I don't think.
I can
I mean, I would
do the
expect by
25th.
May 1st, they're gonna want recommendations by their May 1st meeting.
Okay.
All right.
Otherwise, I keep telling them that they are gonna need a meeting on May 8th as well. They're telling me they're not, but I think that they do.
Okay.
Because otherwise, it wouldn't be until May 15th, just a few days before town meeting.
Right. So how do we look? Does everybody, so Pete, you're not available on the 25th?
I'm not.
Okay. 26th, does that work for anybody? Or 24th rather? That's a Wednesday.
24th is okay.
I can't.
yeah, that's good.
Yeah, 24th and 25th I can do, Chris.
Okay, Mary, you can't do the 24th?
No, but I mean, if that's when you're gonna, that's what it is, that's what it is.
23rd?
I think I can do the 23rd. Let me just double check. Yes, I can do that.
Greg, Ray, Pete?
Mhm. 23rd works.
Yeah, I can do the 23rd, yeah.
Let's call the 23rd then.
Okay.
Okay.
That'll be good. FinCom and CIB what we'll do there is just try to vote. And in the meantime, I'll try to get some additional info on this.
And
On the
that'll be
vans.
Zoom, Chris, are we talking Zoom?
I don't know, maybe we should just get together. I do like seeing everybody's reaction to things. Right? Is that a huge inconvenience for everyone?
Not for me.
No. Fine.
Let's do that.
It's still 6 o'clock though, 23rd.
Yeah, 6 o'clock, yeah. That'd be great, in person.
All
All
right.
right. Next meeting is not April 18th, it's going to be April 23rd.
Adjourn, I guess.
So do we have a motion?
Yeah.
Move to adjourn.
Second,
Further discussion?
Second.
Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great, thanks all.